A snowy setting for a game 2 decades in the waiting. Since these sides last squared up, it's been two very different stories. 8 years ago, the night after Chelsea produced a miracle in Munich, Luton Town were beaten in a conference playoff final. Today, the gap is only 25 places in the football pyramid, and a fifth round tie away at Barnsley is up for grabs. Welcome to Matchday Live. Good morning. Early start for us, of course. Nice FA Cup tie on your Sunday. I'm joined, of course, by Zach Jellab. I'm joined, of course, by Claire Rafferty, and the man you can see in a very blizzard-like setting from Stamford Bridge, Jason Kanté. Jay, it looks cold, mate. How's the pitch looking, and how are you?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I mean, you can see behind me there, it's snowing quite heavily. The flakes are rather large, and as you can see, it's starting to settle as well. There's no danger the game will be off, of course, but maybe just gives it a little bit more of a leveller, perhaps, maybe. But it's cold. It's pretty still, which is a good thing. But I'm all wrapped up, guys. Looking forward to the game.
I say non-stop our chat prior to this has been about your heated socks, Jay, which I am stunned about. Good work. You've got to be prepared for these sort of situations. Claire, I suppose the preparation for Chelsea is knowing the pressure is on them and maybe a little bit of a test of character today to see how they deal with that pressure.
It is, isn't it? I think, I'm excited actually today. I want to see, I said before, I've gone with 4-0. I want to see a galvanised performance, energy. Yes, it's cold. I've got my wellies on. I'm ready for it. I hope they are too.
Yeah, if Claire's not here at half time, it's because she's outside making snow angels as well. We're fully aware of this already. Fully aware of this. Zach, Luton have been on a decent run last couple of weeks. Obviously, a disappointing result in the week against Brentford. But prior to that, they've beaten Reading to get to this stage of the FA Cup, beaten Bournemouth, good result away from home last week. They're not a team to take lightly today, are they?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, compared to the Morecambe game a couple of weeks ago, which was maybe a bit more predictable, this one could literally be a lot tougher than we expect, or maybe could be a bit easier. They've played against opposition higher up than them in the league, and they've beaten them, but then they've also lost to opposition lower in the league. So they kind of fluctuate. It's going to be an interesting game, and definitely one that we will take very seriously.
Absolutely. Well, let's get straight into Play Predictor then. How do we think the game's going to go? And more importantly, how do you think the game's going to go? This is your chance to win some amazing prizes on the fifth stand-up. Make sure you get your predictions in before 11 a.m. Each match day, you can win yourself a £100 Megastore voucher and a signed shirt as well. Last week, John from the UK won. So, John, if you're watching, good work. Have another go. Why not? Can you top the table for the entirety of January as well? We'll wait and see. Here's what we've gone for today then. I've gone for a 2-0 Chelsea win. Likewise, Jason's gone for a 2-0 Chelsea win. Claire has gone for a 4-0 Chelsea win. And Zach has gone for a 3-0 Chelsea win. Claire, I'll start with you. You're talking about that galvanised performance and that reaction. Is that why you've gone for 4 today?
Yeah, I think, lacking in the last game was getting ball in behind, that energy, moving the ball at pace. I think we need a reaction, don't we? There's pressure on this game. We need a good performance. And I think the lads are going to be up for it because, you know what? It's the only way is up, isn't it? So I think let's get these fast players on the ball. Werner in behind. Hopefully he's starting today. Well, let's see. Hopefully goals. I'm praying for it anyway.
Jace, obviously we picked these predictions quite a way before kickoff, and I mean even the last half an hour or so, the snow's got really heavy. Do you think that will play a part today?
Probably not. It's the same for both teams. They would have played in snow before. Maybe it gives Luton a little bit more, of a chance, but I very much doubt it. But if we turn up today, we win. It's as simple as that. We say that quite often, don't we? It could be any scoreline today. It could be 2-0, could be 3-0, could be 4-0. A clean sheet, please, and that would be a brilliant place to start. They've dried up of late, haven't they? And so have the goals. So, any victory with a clean sheet, I'll take right now.
Zach, we talk about kickstarting momentum. We had that against Morecambe. We get a good result, and then we beat Fulham in the week. I suppose that's what Frank Lampard's looking for today, to replicate that, get a good result today, and then it puts you in good stead for the midweek game against Wolves.
100%. Yeah, this is. I wouldn't be surprised if a decent amount of the players that you probably see today will also feature against Wolves. Not only is it an FA Cup game, but also a game where confidence can build. If you score a couple of goals, so for someone like, say, maybe Werner, who we don't know if he's starting or not, but if he is, then if he can get a couple of goals and get that confidence up, that's going to be brilliant for him to kind of forget about what's been happening recently, and for kind of all the players to really set alight, because the FA Cup is a competition Chelsea have really rich history in, and hopefully somewhere we can go quite far this year.
Let's talk about that then, because that's our hot topic one for today, which is the FA Cup. Is it a bit of a welcome distraction? You know, like you mentioned there, Zach, we've won it 8 times, but Jace, Frank was very, very adamant in the week that it's not a distraction in terms of, you know, it's another game that we focus on. It doesn't then, you don't forget about the league, you don't forget about the form coming into the game. It's more, I suppose, today about an opportunity for players to play their way into the team and for Frank to see those players chomping at the bit to get a start in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's be honest, we're not playing particularly well. And these are the type of games that if you do come in, I'm going to pick Billy Gilmore because we expect him to start. He's been on the fringe of things. And I think that midfield area, there's a couple of places up for grabs in there, certainly in my mind. We saw, didn't we, against Morecambe, how Frank went into it with a strong team and was hoping that would kick-start, get some things going. We scored 4, and it hasn't quite happened the way that we hoped. Look, we've got 3 home games coming up. This one, then we've got the midweek game against Wolves, and then Burnley. In all honesty, we have to win all 3 of those games. And today is a very good chance to get us firing, to make sure that there are 1 or 2 issues that need to be ironed out. Defensively, he'll be looking to make sure there's a clean sheet, of course. But I think you're right. I think there is a space for today's game, if there is a performance or 2, to Frank to say, do you know what? You can get your chance. Here you go. So it wouldn't surprise me. Some of the players we see here today are the ones that actually play against Wolves on Wednesday or Tuesday.
Claire, of course, you never look past Luton Town today. It's the next game in the cup. You can't ever take cup games for granted. We know that from a Chelsea perspective and from football in general. But you look at the way the FA Cup's forming up. Obviously, Arsenal, the holders going out yesterday. Liverpool, Man United play each other a little bit later on. If we win against Luton today, we've got Barnsley in the next round. This is an opportunity, isn't it? And I suppose as a player, from a player's perspective, do you look at that? And if you're getting a nod in the cup games, you're going, okay, this is an opportunity for me to perhaps get further and further in the FA Cup, get more minutes and break my way into the first team.
Yeah, the FA Cup's a special cup, isn't it? I think everyone goes on about the magic of it. It's very unpredictable. We saw Arsenal getting knocked out. Luton are sitting mid-table. We don't know what we're going to actually face today. But it is taking that opportunity. We said it time and time again on the show, haven't we? Some of these players have been getting opportunity, like Hudson-Odoi. Did he take it in the last game? I don't know if he did. I think, it does give opportunity for Frank to rotate. Will he be wanting to play his strongest team? I don't really know, but I think we will see a good few changes. But let's not forget Luton. And they actually do like to play quite a high defensive line. So I want to see them runs in behind. I want to see that excitement.
Absolutely. And Zach, we saw even yesterday evening with Cheltenham hosted Man City, they were 1 up until the 82nd, 83rd minute, something like that. So when you do play teams that perhaps have got that freedom and that opportunity to come and express themselves, like Claire's pointed out, they're a very good side. They play a decent brand of football. They've got players that can hurt you and that can damage you. So Chelsea need to be wary of that. And like you've already pointed out, this isn't when we played Morecambe and there's 3 or 4 divisions and a 2-week coronavirus gap between them. It's going to be a test today.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is, as people say, as maybe as corny as it is, but it is true. It's the magic of the FA Cup. It really is. Luton come here with nothing to lose. They're, by expected to kind of lose this game. So for them, they can come here full out attack or sit back and apply pressure, and what they'll want to do is frustrate us. The longer it's 0-0, like it was for City yesterday, the better it is for them. So yeah, I think, and Frank will know this. Frank's been in this situation so many times where he's played against low opposition who fancy it against the big boys of the Premier League, especially a club like Chelsea Football Club. So yeah, I think it's as long as we're in the right mindset, we should be okay.
Jace, obviously you'll have played Luton many times over the years. This is a fixture that is only sort of infrequent in the last 2 decades or so. In the 80s and 90s, a game that happened quite a lot. So it's a team that have got a good history and a good pedigree in this competition, especially. It's going to be a decent game today, isn't it?
That's absolutely right. They come in, no pressure on them. The pressure's all on us. We're not winning football matches at the moment. We're not scoring. We're not keeping clean sheets. There's a little bit of pressure, but I think this is a chance for us to go out and express ourselves against inferior opposition. But we've got to do it. And I'd like to see us do it in some style as well, actually. The game against Morecambe, the game against Barnsley that we've seen already this season in the cup competitions tells me that when we do turn it on against weaker opposition, we will go on and win the game. And I'd like to see something similar to that.
Good work. Right, well, we are joined, of course, by Ben Andrews from snowy Stamford Bridge this morning. Ben, how are you, mate? You good?
No, bad start. Nearly snowed in. Got one glove Nightmare. One glove, utterly useless. Hopefully Kepa's brought both. He's in. I just want to show you something before I tell you the team news. New banner. Can you see that up there?
I've heard of this on the Chelsea website. Is this the Frank Lampard banner?
In Frank we trust, it says. Then, now, forever. Remember that, everybody. He's made a lot of changes. 7 of them. Kepa is in goal. Emerson is at left back. Christensen and Zuma are the centre halves. And pleasingly for me, maybe we'll talk about this in a minute, Reece James keeps his place. Probably a good idea, that, I think, after midweek. Mason Mount is captain in midfield. And I'm going to get confirmation, hopefully, while I'm speaking to you as to the actual shape. But I'm suspecting a 4-2-3-1. With Mason in midfield, looks like Billy Gilmore. We're thinking Kai Havertz as a sort of 10-ish, or maybe Pulisic, Werner, and Abraham. So Timo Werner comes in essentially for Hudson-Odoi. Ziyech comes in kind of for Havertz, who was in midfield, if you remember, at Leicester, and Billy Gilmore for Kovacic. 3 of the back 4 changing, and Kepa in goal, if that made any sense.
Ben, you said Mason Mount captain as well. I know from a Chelsea fan's perspective, that's going to be quite a big deal today.
Yeah, isn't that great? And absolutely as a homegrown, if only the fans were here, as we always say. But brilliant for him, not least because if anyone deserves it, I mean, I think he's been playing on his own in a couple of games recently. At Arsenal, at Leicester, I don't think he put a foot wrong in either of those games when the team as a whole got a lot of stick. So if anyone deserves it in terms of performance and consistency of performance this season, it is the player of the year in waiting.
Claire, exactly what Ben's just said there. He's been phenomenal this year, and he's stood up to every challenge that's put his way. There's been a lot of question marks about him from outside of the football club. I think everyone inside Chelsea completely appreciates and understands and rates him as high as possible. But there are a lot of people that perhaps question why he gets into the England team, why he gets into the Chelsea team. And if you don't watch him every game, you may not see that. The reason we see it is the reason we're so excited he's got the armband today, because he's fully deserved that.
Yeah, he does. He deserves it. I think he's come on leaps and bounds, hasn't he? For me, it's about his awareness off the ball. I love how you always see him checking his shoulder. He's so aware of where everything is. Also, his balance when he receives the ball as well. I think that is something that goes unnoticed sometimes. The actual balance ability to shift your feet, actually receive the ball, whatever angle. Something I definitely struggled with. Very left-footed me. I couldn't do anything on my right hand. So he's doing both.
Jace, just on that as well, because we'll come on to Reece James in a minute. But in terms of Mason, he's a player that's obviously come through the academy. He's been here a long time. He's gone out. He's done his sort of. It's a horrible phrase to use, but I can't think of the right one. In terms of work experience, he's gone away to Vitesse on loan. He's gone away to Derby to hone his craft and to work on his thing. Now he's an ever-present for Chelsea and England. But how much of a big deal is that from an academy player like you were yourself to not only break into the first team, to become a regular, but now to captain Chelsea?
Oh, it's a dream come true for the lad. I'm so excited. Just to let you know, he's actually on the front cover of today's programme as well. What a special day for him and his family. Congratulations to him. Ben's right. I mean, Ben and I do the commentary. And 100% is what you get every single game out of Mason. And at times you do feel as though he is, of all the players out there, when there is a bad performance, I don't think he could do any more. You always get that impression that he's left everything out on the pitch. But there's more to him than that. We often talk about his work rate. He's a brilliant young footballer, and we're very lucky to have him. I'm looking forward to seeing him wear that armband, and I'm proud of him as well. So I'm sure we all are. So he is absolutely one of our own.
Absolutely, mate. Ben, you mentioned Reece James keeping his place at right back. Reece is obviously just come back from an injury. He's missed 3 or 4 weeks over the Christmas and New Year period. It's important, I suppose, to getting back to that level that we saw prior to Christmas in terms of fitness and in terms of minutes as well.
Yeah, and, let's have it right. He had a bit of a stinker at Leicester, and that's okay. He wasn't the only one. But, the goal, any young defender can switch off every now and then, and he did. He was watching the ball in the air, and he wasn't aware of who was coming in off his shoulder there in Maddison. But it was more the rest of the game that would worry me about him there. I'm sure you all noticed it. He wasn't ever taking anyone on. Every time he got the ball from Rudiger, he turned back and give it back to him. And I think the best thing Frank could have done was give him a game today. I mean, the obvious thing would have been, an obvious fan comment would have been, oh, Aspie's got to play against Luton because Reece's confidence looked shot in midweek. But I think the absolute opposite is true. A game today, hopefully against slightly less good opposition, he can get a bit of his mojo back. There's been no bigger champion of Reece James than me over the last 4 years. He's brilliant. And hopefully today we'll see that again, the power and the confidence of going past someone, whipping a ball round them. I think it's a really good call from Frank.
Completely agree. We're just seeing some shots of the boys warming up in the snow. It's a bit of a different setting today, Zach, isn't it, in terms of playing in the snow? I'm not sure many players will have had too many experiences playing in the snow, especially you look at the likes of, Timo Werner and Christian Pulisic and Hakim Ziyech as well. I'm not sure how many times they'll have experienced this, but I know if Pat Nevin was here today, he'd be telling us how Billy Gilmore's used to this. This is normal for Billy Gilmore to be playing in colder climes. So it's a big opportunity for Billy today. We know what he's capable of. We know how good he is, and I think we're all buzzing to see him start, aren't we?
Oh yeah, I think we have such a talented player in Billy Gilmore who can kind of do it all. Can play centre mid, can play DM, and even for the youth team, he's played further forwards and been more of a goal scoring role as well. He really has everything about his game for him. I think for when we're looking at the first team, it's going to be more of like a central midfield role, more of a defensive kind of minded role, and he plays it fantastically. I keep bringing up the games last season of Everton and Liverpool. But he was at times the best player on that pitch. We played really well as well during those games. But everything about it, I mean, when you're spinning Fabinho, who went and won the Premier League that year, I think it shows that you've got a massive future to come. And today is a huge game for him. He comes out and has a fantastic performance. He's put in a massive stake to start against Wolves if he's playing today. Which he is. If he has a fantastic time today, he could be playing against Wolves. I got confused on the times there. I couldn't remember whether the tee sheet had been let out or not.
No, good work, mate. Good work. Claire, as well. So it's a big opportunity for Timo Werner and Christian Pulisic, who both had sort of injury troubles, and with Timo, I suppose he's had a little bit of a spell out the side with Tammy Abraham starting up top today. But for both of those, it's a good opportunity to, once you get that first goal, I imagine as a player, that's the first thing you want as an attacking player, to get that goal, get that under your belt, and then you can kind of run from there.
Yeah, and I think also not to put too much pressure if that doesn't come. It's not just about scoring for these guys, it's about getting in the positions to do so. I think, as I touched on before, Luton do like to play quite a high line. So if that's the case, they'd be quite brave to. I don't know if they're doing this game, obviously, against us, but if that's the case, let's exploit the spaces in behind. Let's get these players 1v1 and get these attempts on goal.
Completely agree. And Jay, just on Tammy Abraham as well, leading the line today, he's another one. It's kind of flitted between Tammy, Timo and Olivier Giroud, who starts. Tammy's obviously got a good opportunity to, I suppose, cement that place. He started against Leicester as well. So, for Frank, I suppose it's another opportunity for Tammy to make a claim and get that starting berth and take that number 9 shirt, which he's already got, but in terms of the positional sense, and really make a claim to hold on to it.
Yeah, I do think there's a number of positions that we as fans aren't quite sure. I'm not convinced that Frank is actually nailed down as number 1, number 9. It's up for grabs. If you remember the game against Barnsley, him and Havertz had a really good understanding. It really looked like it was exciting. So if we do play that 4-2-3-1 where Havertz is just in behind Tammy, I think Tammy could really benefit from that. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that is the case.
Ben, you mentioned as well about a 4-2-3-1 rather than a 4-3-3 today, which we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Do you think that 4-2-3-1, like Jason's just pointed out there, it plays into Tammy's hand as well, having someone a little bit closer to him?
I think it probably would. Obviously, we're going to have a lot more of the ball anyway, and it probably does. It's about the speed of the passing, and you hope that Luton can't cope with it. So if you've got that extra bloke in there, then for sure that helps. And what Claire said a moment ago, I couldn't agree more. If there is anything in the way of a high line from Luton, and if there is a criticism of Chelsea recently, for me, it's been too many passes and not getting it forward quite quick enough. And Timo Werner, specifically, just to go back to what you're saying there, we're not going to expect Chelsea to be a counter-attacking side. We've got more quality than that, so we don't have to be that. But so many of his Leipzig goals and his bright moments here, you think when he's running that, I think those Southampton goals where Jorginho found him over the top, or the one down the channel where he span, I think it was Bednarek, and he still makes that run, right? I'm sure you see it on the wide angle when you're watching it on the box. He makes that run loads. And people aren't playing it, and it's beginning to drive him, I would suspect, and definitely me, absolutely potty. But you see Ben Chilwell look up and see it, and he doesn't bend it in there down that left channel that Timo wants to run in. Oh, I don't feel that this Chelsea side are actually playing quite to his strengths. I'm not saying they should build the team around him and do everything for him, but you will see more of him doing what he does really well. If we can just lessen the passes a bit, do 6 rather than 10, do 2 rather than 4. That's part of it. And then Tammy and everyone and anyone who's near him will have more joy.
Ben, top draw, mate. You and Jace go and get yourself a hot drink, go and get warm, stay cozy, and we'll be back in a bit. Obviously, unfortunately, the WSL game has been called off between Chelsea and Bristol City, unfortunately. But that is all from us for now. We'll be back a little bit later on. But first, here is Frank Lampard's press conference in full.
Start with Jamie Weir, Sky Sports News.
Thanks very much, Adrian. Good afternoon, Frank.
Hi.
Is Sunday a chance to park the league form for a bit, put it to the back of your minds, and maybe rest some weary bodies as well?
I don't know about park the league form. We've lost our last game. We won the one before that. We want to win every game that we play. And Luton's going to be a tough competitor because they're going pretty well in the Championship. They're a good team. It's the FA Cup. We know all that comes with it. So pick a team to try and win the game and get us through to the next round.
Is the bigger concern for you at the moment the results or the performances?
I think they go hand in hand sometimes, don't they? And results are what you get measured on the outside. And recently we've not got as many points as we want.
You said before that you need to just block out the noise when you hear speculation regarding your future. When there's other managers' names, successors' names being bandied around, that must be difficult. How do you block out that noise?
I don't listen to it.
But when it's everywhere, it's hard to...
No, I don't. Well, I don't. It's only everywhere. If you want to go scroll through maybe social media or something, I don't do that. I come and do. I'm not stupid. Do you know what I mean? I know what the pressures that come with managing a top football club, but I only do my job, so it doesn't matter to me.
Is it any more difficult because of the fact you were a player at Chelsea for such a long period of time, and you experienced firsthand how ruthlessly managers?
No, absolutely not. Because my career here as a player was fantastic and it's set in stone. And when I say fantastic, I'm not giving the big I am. I'm talking about the success that I was proud to be part of at the club. And the link I have here with the fans and the support I get from them is amazing. And I knew when I came into this job as a manager that can change the tone of it. You know, there are things that you can't control going forward. You do your best, and I'll continue to do that all the time while I'm managing the club because I feel the club. It doesn't change how I feel. Wherever I'd work, it's the kind of person I am. Wherever I work, whatever the club it is, I give my all.
Thanks, Frank. Best
Thank you. Cheers. John Southall, 5 Live.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
As you mentioned, you've seen the pressure as a player from the other side of the fence on managers at Chelsea. How are you finding it at the moment? How tough a period is it for you?
The pressure's fine. Listen, you're obviously more happy when you're winning games. You know, I was more happy in November and October than I've been in sort of mid-December onwards. But it comes with the territory. I think you can look around the Premier League and you can see teams this season that have had problems, teams now that are having problems that we're not used to having problems. So for me, I just have to get on with the job.
I mean, you know the hierarchy at this club better than probably most people. Have you had a chat with them? Have you spoken to them?
I'm not going to talk about private conversations. So I played here for a long time, but the situation changes from being a player here 13 years to managing the club. So I have much more conversations with the hierarchy than I ever had as a player.
Do you think the new players you've brought in have been a bit surprised by the intensity of the Premier League? We saw last night with Burnley that any team can beat anybody else. Has that surprised them, do you think?
Well, I think some of the new lads have been quoted as saying that. We've got the most physical and fastest league in the world. We feel that here, and I think it's pretty clear to see. So, when I talk about players needing adaptation, and we've seen great players need time in this league to kick in, especially when they're young, because they come to this league fresh, then it's very normal if they do feel like that.
And how much time do you think it will? I mean, it's a difficult question. Probably it will take to get the best out of this group, and you keep saying it's a work in progress. But I mean, how long do you think it is until you?
Well, what marker are you putting on that?
Well, this season, will you need another next season until we see the best?
Well, I'm not going to sit and talk about next season. It will be a nonsense. Any manager in a job in the Premier League wouldn't talk about the next season because you can only worry about what's in front of you.
But I mean, will it take that long to get the full potential out of the new players to settle into the Premier League? And
well, again, I'll ask you the same thing. What's the marker on that? What are you talking about to get someone playing, like Eden Hazard did in the prime of his career here? What are you asking for?
Yeah, this season, when are we going to see the best of the new players?
Well, that's what we're working to, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
PA. Hi, Frank.
Hi.
Is there any update on the situation with Fikayo Tomori? How close is his loan deal to being completed? Has he gone up?
No confirmation as it stands. Yeah, it's not completed, so no, he remains in the same situation.
But in terms of what you've got with the guys, the guys got available, so some of the fans are perhaps a bit frustrated that Kerr's not playing more at this point. I mean, could you just sort of, I know you've talked about it before, but can you just give a word to them about why it's not been the right time to have him in your team?
Yeah, because I'll have 5 centre-backs and I can't do this job and expect to appease or please. Every fan will have their own opinions. That's football, of what players you should pick or not. And when you're searching for consistency, or when we're in a long unbeaten run, nobody questions it. Maybe they do when you're not playing so well. But I have to pick 2 out of the 5, and those numbers don't always add up. Fikayo's a developing player, a very, very good player. I've seen him rise from arriving at Derby as a quite quiet lad and a good talent to being one of the best defenders in the Championship and then an England international and a Chelsea regular. So I think his journey's been great, and whatever the next step, whether he goes on loan or not, he's going to be a top player, but he's a developing player too.
Liam, through me.
Hi Frank, I wanted to ask a question about Petter. At a time like this, when confidence seems to be low in the squad and lots of players individually seem to be struggling, how valuable is it to have someone else around the first team who, like you, had a similar winning mentality as a player and similar experience of good and bad times at the very top level?
Well, to be fair, Liam, I think if their confidence would be shot if they were to read some of the pieces that you write at the minute, because I read some of them, and some of the confirmation bias that you always reflect on games with, and it's like a sort of almost like a social media pundit to try and get a reaction in a negative way. I read the pieces when we were doing well as well, and they didn't go both ways. So I think for a journalist to be objective would be a big start, because if players do read it, I'd feel like that. In terms of Pete, I think his experience is vital for the club, that we use our experiences, because even in years that we were successful and we look back and we're holding trophies, there were tough moments in them. Tough moments to whatever degree, and there's some really solid squads in those years as well. So we've been there before. We know what it takes to turn the corner, so we work together on that.
James, talk sport.
Frank, there has been some criticism, I guess, about the rotation of the squad. But when you look at how many players are necessarily making their spot their own, it only seems to be Edouard Mendy and Mason Mount, those 2 players that really merit their squad in each game.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that gets asked a lot, and you have a squad and you want consistency in selection, but players have to make places their own, as you alluded to. I don't just think it's those 2. I think there are other players at different times that have made it their own, and yeah, we're all working towards that, of course. There'll be times when you utilise the squad, there'll be times when you want to have continuity, but at the end of the day, we know that some individual form has not been at its best lately. So I have to make changes. If I didn't make changes, I think sometimes people will criticise that fact. So I just have to make the decision I see.
Some of the words you used after the Leicester game were slow, sluggish, and you said some of the players lack desire. Is there only so much you can do as a manager when you prepare your side for a game for them to put in a performance as they did? You sometimes feel a bit helpless at times.
I don't think, I'm not sure I said lack desire. If I did, then okay, but it was definitely slow and sluggish. I'll definitely hold it to that. And one of the things I think that set us out as a team last year was our energy. And that parts this year, and when we're on a good run, energy to beat Leeds, to beat Seville takes a lot of energy, and it's a part of a team that I feel proud when I put that out, that shows that. And we did it last year, and we managed to get to 4th position. So when I see it come off, I have to call it out, and we have to work it in training to get it better, because you cannot play if you don't run first. And I don't want to explain exactly what the reasons are for each individual, because some players are not at it on one day or whatever. So there can be a multitude of reasons for it. But as a group, we need to get back to the energy that we were finding and winning games.
And finally, for me, in terms of the pressure you're feeling now, how does that compare to being a player? Because ultimately, it does come down to the manager at times like these.
Yeah, I mean, I worry. My concern is not the pressure on me, because I can deal with it, because I've been in football a long time as a player at top clubs, so I understand how it goes, and it's different as a player. But the pressure needs to be positive on the players, because the players are what make you a good manager or not so good manager, and that can flip very quickly, as we always see. So it's important that the players don't feel that. I don't mind taking the pressure. The players have to feel a good pressure. They want to win games. They want to get some form back. We want to get how quickly that form and results can turn in this league. We're seeing it now more than ever. So We just have to direct that pressure in the right way on the pitch.
Last question in this section, Nazar.
Hi Frank, a lot of the local fans seem to support you in the UK and they're planning a banner to show that support. How helpful is that sort of to get the buy-in for the patience you need to get the group up to scratch, and do you feel that same sort of buy-in from maybe the dressing room that you probably need to help you through this difficult patch?
Well, like I said before, players will always make you a good or bad or in-between manager, so I think you obviously have to have buy-in from the dressing room, because my opinion is that football is whatever percent tactics, but it's a much bigger percentage of environment and drive and positivity and desire and all those things that create the basics in football. So that's important. In terms of the banner, yeah, I really appreciate whether it helps or not, but I absolutely appreciate the fans that put together to create the banner. I think everyone who knows me or watched me as a player or watched me as a manager knows how I feel about this club. So I appreciate it very much.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. You may recognise me from Glastonbury, and right now I'm about to ask Thiago Silva, the man himself, some questions. Hey Thiago, how are you doing?
Hi Alex, nice to meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you too, mate. Who has helped you settle in the most at Chelsea?
Normalmente, né, os brasileiros, por falar a mesma língua, né, o ASP também me ajudou muito nessa minha chegada, é um cara que está sempre disponível, então foi um dos mais importantes, assim, sem falar os outros que falam franceses também.
Who is the funniest around the training ground, like the prankster? Who pulls the best pranks? Who's the funniest?
Sem dúvida, o Zuma. O Zuma, eu acho que já faz parte do cotidiano dele, a felicidade, as brincadeiras, mas ao mesmo tempo o momento que tem que trabalhar, é um cara que se prepara muito.
If you could play alongside one centre back, past or present, who would you choose?
Acredito que o Maldini.
If you could bring back one Chelsea player to the club, who would it be?
Hazard?
Who was his favourite player to watch when growing up? Like, who did he idolise?
Romário.
Obviously, it's been short so far, but what has his favourite moment at Chelsea been so far?
Meu primeiro dia, porque foi uma grande vitória para mim pessoalmente, com 36 anos, investir essa camisa tão importante no mundo do futebol.
The way I dribble with the ball is always put my toes on the ball, so always pushing it forward, making sure that when I'm driving with the ball, I'm gaining speed, but at the same time, I'm keeping it close to my foot as well.
For his goal, he's beaten 2 players, and Joe Cole has won the title for Chelsea.
Got a room between he and the goal. Coquelin doing his best to stay with him, he had no chance. Still Hazard, and still Eden Hazard! Oh my goodness me!
So quick with his feet to adjust. He's a special talent.
Hudson-Odoi from halfway, all his own work, but where on earth was the Tottenham defence?
My main aim is to always try and get past you, try and score, try and assist, and no matter how experienced you are, how long you've been playing the game, or who you are, even if you're my best friend, I would still do the same thing and try and get past you every time. I've carried that on from when I was 7 all the way on to now, so it's a feeling that I know that I'm confident at what I do when I get the ball, and I know I can always beat my man. I was always looking up to Ronaldinho. I like the way he's just always confident in the ball, always smiling, always positive. He's always trying to create something, trying to do something. And he's always playing with a smile on his face. For me, it's when you're always happy and you're always playing with confidence and being a player in a team where everyone looks at you, be like, I can give him the ball and I know he's going to do something or he's going to score.
He has sparkles.
For me, I'm always confident knowing that if I go into training, if I try something new, if I try it again in the game, I'm sure it would work. The way I dribble with the ball is always put my toes on the ball, so always pushing it forward, making sure that when I'm driving with the ball, I'm gaining speed, but at the same time, I'm keeping it close to my foot as well. I think to myself every time I see the defender, if he's backing off me, I always look for him being off balance. So for example, if I'm running at him and I see one of his legs lift up, and in an instance he lifts his leg a little, just even a little bit, I know I have the advantage, so as soon as he lifts his leg, I can go past him, you know what I mean? So I have the advantage of going the other way because it will take him longer to turn around to follow me to get with the ball as well, so yeah. If his position's a bit low, I always look at myself and try and give him a bit of body feints to push him away. If he's still firm, then I know I can use my speed and strength to get past him. But always I try to do a bit of shimmies before dribbling, so I know that if he does move a bit, I've got the advantage to get past him.
Vroom.
Be the player who gets the goals, who gets the assists, to help the team get the crucial points. I say even to myself that I want to keep improving by dribbling more, getting more dribbles completed, keep getting past my defenders, keep getting goals, keep getting assists, working hard for the team. And as I said, I just want to keep being confident and keep doing myself.
So here's Hudson-Odoi.
It's a brilliant run from Hudson-Odoi. He's still going. He touched Callum Hudson-Odoi. Yeah! Fantastic.
And that is a moment he will never forget.
Gavin Peacock double was enough the last time these two sides met in the FA Cup. That was a semi-final back in April 1994. Who will be today's match winner? This is the side that Frank Lampard has selected for today then. In goal, Kepa Arrizabalaga, a back four of Reece James, Kurt Zouma, Andreas Christensen and Emerson. Billy Gilmore, captain for today, Mason Mount, Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner and Tammy Abraham. On the bench for Chelsea today, Willy Caballero, Antonio Rudiger, Jorginho, Mateo Kovacic, Olivier Giroud, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Ben Chilwell and Cesar Azpilicueta. Let's go straight into our one to watch then. And it's not one to watch, it's more two to watch today because we've gone for Timo Werner and Tammy Abraham. That's a partnership we've been after, and I know that you've been championing for a while, Zach. It's one that excites us knowing that those two are going to be playing together. We're not quite sure in terms of how the system's going to set up just yet, but those two on the pitch together is an exciting prospect.
Yeah, indeed. They complement each other really well. Tammy kind of has that ability to do it all. He's not slow. He can hold up the ball. He can pass. And so him, maybe the way you see it, maybe the ball going into him, taking a touch, putting it through to Werner. Werner, the same thing, maybe linking up with Tammy. Tammy is a really good link-up player. I mean, maybe not quite to the level of Olivier Giroud, but he's still extremely young, only 23 years old, can build to that level. And he's getting better year on year. Compared to last season, he's improved massively on it. But it's also very good for Werner. The whole kind of his whole career for RB Leipzig was playing with Poulsen up front, a very tall, dominant striker who would win the ball and kind of lay it off to him. And also allow Werner to be a bit more free and kind of go onto the left wing if needed, while still having someone in the middle. So for Timo today, this is a really nice opportunity for him to kind of play maybe in his ideal position with an ideal partner, and maybe it's also something that Lampard's wanted to try. And today's like a perfect opportunity to give it a go.
Absolutely. And Claire, like Zach said, you know, a lot of the time when he did play for RB Leipzig, Timo Werner, he had a strike partner, and a lot of people kind of reminiscing him coming in from the left-hand side. But you know, Tammy could sort of prosper off this as well. You know, we saw him at the start of the season link up really well with Kai Havertz, who was almost playing as sort of a second striker behind him against Barnsley when he got his hat-trick. And that link-up play was brilliant. We saw the best out of Tammy on that day. And I suppose that's, like you were saying earlier, it's not all about goals, but in terms of the link-up play and the confidence and getting comfortable playing together, this could be a big afternoon for them both.
Yeah, and look, are they both going to be playing up top? Let's see. I've got a different opinion on that, but we'll touch on that later on. For me, look, you're saying it is about partner in crime, isn't it, with Timo and Tammy? Tammy's got great movement. For me, it's small details, execution pass that it needs to pick up on, but this will bring out the best in Tammy. Hopefully it'll bring out the best in Timo as well. And yeah, as you said, it's something that the fans have been shouting for, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Jace, it's obviously a chance for partnerships to develop, and I suppose that's another thing. You know, when perhaps a player isn't, I suppose, meeting the heights that he'd set for himself or he'd expect. If you've got a partner in crime there to help you through the difficult times and to perhaps ease you into games or help knock you on to chances, then that's exactly what we'll do. I think we've muted you at the moment because it's getting quite noisy inside Stamford Bridge. Nothing to do with the snow, I don't think, but I think we have muted you. If we could just try and... I'll come back to you in a second once we've been able to unmute you, mate. But Zach, exactly on that, you know, it's nice to see partnerships develop, and 10, 15 years ago, strike partnerships happened all the time. You know, we've been blessed with some amazing ones over the year. We did this exact discussion on a show before Christmas. You know, you got Drogba and Anelka played really well together. Good Johnson and Hasselbank and Zola and Flo, all these different partnerships. Timo and Tammy, that could be another one.
The double T's, turbo T's. Yeah, no, it's one of them. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a purist or something, and I love seeing a partnership. Well, even if it's in midfield, right, or centre back partnerships where you have you know, John Terry and Gary Gale, John Terry and Carvalho. But for strikers, yeah, it's great, and it's a massive thing in football that's happened throughout the history of it. And with the way football goes, people it moves on from two up tops and then one up top for a little while. People playing tiki-taka kind of football, then eventually it'll come back round, and maybe this is the start of the resurgence. I'm buzzing. I love two up top, Sunday League style as well. Brilliant.
Oh, completely. Jay, I think we can't unmute you. I think you physically got to do it yourself, which I know is difficult because you've got about 900 layers. And rightly so, mate. Thank you for that. But Jay, you were mentioning to us just a minute ago about the ball perhaps holding up a little bit on the pitch. Yeah. Like Claire said before in the pre-match show, one of the best things that we like about Tammy is the fact that he can get in behind. I suppose if the ball's holding up, that might favour him, or might it not? How does that play a part today?
I'll let you have a look at the pitch there. It's still snowing. You can see the marks out there, and the ball itself is just holding up. It's gathering a little bit of snow. So what you got to do, you've got to put a little bit of extra pace on the pass, got to zip it in there so that doesn't happen. Any balls over the top will inevitably slow up, so might have to put a little bit more on those as well. But if they are going to play that high line and they play the three, the space is going to be out wide, down the flanks, in behind the wing backs, and that's where the runs have to be made. And Tammy can do that. He's a quick boy. We can see that the pace that Timo's got as well. He's a quick lad. He does make those runs. Ben made a great point earlier about the runs he makes. Where we're watching it, we can see those runs. It's not always being found. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you've got to hit those little percentage balls, putting it into an area, go and chase after it, stretch the back line. If you're just constantly playing to feet, as a defender, you can start to read the game and you start to get a little tighter. If there is a threat in behind, your positional sense and your distances you start to think about it a little bit more. So I'd like to see us try and get those balls over top, getting behind in particular, down those wider areas.
Just on that, Jay, because that's a great point you make. And by the looks of it, Luton are going to line up either a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2. Depends how you look at it. I suppose depends if they're going forward or defending. And on the left-hand side, I believe it will be Cal Naismith, who only recently joined the club. But on that left-hand side, you've got Glenn Ray playing at centre-half as well, who quite a lot of the time occupies a more midfield area. That, I suppose, is an area that Chelsea will look at today and go, okay, well, if you've got a wing back that's perhaps a more attacking player that wants to get forward, wants to affect the game in an opposition, like you said, there's going to be spacing behind anyway. So that probably is an area that Chelsea will look to expose.
Assuming they play that system, yes. If they do play a 5 at the back, well, it's hard to dislodge them. Therefore, you have to use the width, try and stretch them that way as well as going that way. And we've seen when teams sit deep against us and pack, a bank of 4, a bank of 5, it's very difficult to break down. That's really where we've struggled to break those teams down. So it's the transition. When there is a transition of possession, you've got to move it quickly. I think at times we are a little laboured. We have 3 or 4 touches where maybe 1 or 2 will do, 3 or 4 passes where maybe 1 or 2 will do. Don't overcomplicate things. Move the ball quickly. That's the only way you can break down a back 5. We saw Burnley. I think we saw the game against Liverpool. Liverpool weren't moving that ball quick enough. And Burnley were encroached at the back, playing a 6 sometimes, which is really tough to break down. It's all about us, really. Move the ball quickly, and we will create chances.
Someone that's going to have a big part to play in that moving the ball quickly is someone that you've done a piece of analysis for us on, actually, Jason, because you've been taking a little bit of a closer look at our midfield maestro as he looks to get back to his best after his injury. It's, of course, Billy Gilmore.
OK, let's have a look at Billy Gilmore. We expect him to play a big part in today's game. Desperately unlucky with the injury last season that kept him out of that and largely a part of this season as well. The Liverpool game, of course, in the Cup was where he really did make a name for himself. Excellent on the night. Lovely pass this hit from into Giroud. And that's the sort of player he is. Very unselfish, always looking to play other players in. Got good technique as well. This is a great example of it. Doesn't put his laces through it, just uses the instep, bends it round the goalkeeper. As I said, he's always looking to link up and play players in. Reminds me a lot of Cesc Fabregas. I know that's high praise, but the way that he is, his stature and the way that he moves with the ball as well. This is a great example of it. Plays the ball at Westby, always looking over his shoulder. Can I receive it? Yes, I can. Can I now switch play and build again on the other side? Always offering himself, even in tight areas, comfortable on the ball. Great vision, great awareness, but always looking to go forward as well. And again, just picks things up. Can I go forward? No. If it's not on, keep it. And just keeps the game ticking over nicely. And I'm sure every Chelsea fan is really looking forward to seeing what Billy can do today.
He's going to have a big part to play today as Billy Gilmore. It brings us nicely onto our hot topic 3 for today, which is a chance for Billy to make a claim for a start on Wednesday against Wolves. Claire, Wolves are in quite a difficult run at the moment, and depending the way that Luton line up today could potentially be reminiscent of a Wolves team in terms of if they're playing 3 centre-halves. Wolves have kind of reverted to a 4-4-2 at the moment, but it might be an opportunity for Billy to get those passes in and get his rhythm going, and we know how good he can be and how much of an important player he will be in the running for us.
Yeah, Billy's always prepared to receive, isn't he? I touched before about Mount's positional awareness, always on the lookout. For me, Billy, he's an absolute gem, isn't he? I think he's something that we're crying out for. He showed a lot of maturity, and I think this could be a game where he does find them little intricate passes, picks the ball up. Is the one who's brave in there and trying to kind of dominate in that centre midfield. I think you're right. It's going to be difficult to break down if they do go with that three at the back. But we've said it time and time again. Look at our team. I mean, we should have no problem really unlocking that. But let's see. Hopefully, Billy can be the one who unlocks it.
Absolutely. And Zach, like Jason pointed out, in perhaps needed to play a little bit more on the pass. Someone like Billy Gilmore that is notorious for snapping passes into players, making sure they get there, and he's always crisp, he's always clean, he's very clever in possession. Something like that today is going to be it's almost overlooked a little bit, but that is a necessity, isn't it, to make sure you've got enough on the pass and make sure they get there.
100%. And Billy's an attack-minded player. Maybe when you say about N'Golo, it's more defensive. It's not really the first thing that comes to mind of pushing that ball forward. For Billy, the second he receives that ball, he's looking to go forward, not necessarily backwards. It's always, can I make that forward pass? Can I do it over the top ball if needed to one of the wingers? Can I go into the striker? Which we need recently, which make a big difference. And as I said earlier, if he has a fantastic game today, he has a massive chance playing against Wolves, which we hope to see.
Jace, also, the fact that Billy and Mason looks like potentially could be a 2 in there, maybe a 3, depending on how we line up and how we look. But it's a big afternoon for both of them, isn't it? Because we often talk about their maturity beyond their years, but if they're potentially coming up against a 3 in the middle of the park, it's going to be a good test for them and a good challenge today.
It will, and they've played one another many times, getting to this point of their career. Billy's a brilliant footballer. He's always thinking to get the ball forward. His body shape, when he receives it, also the way that he looks, his first instincts. If he can't, he'll go and pass it, but he always wants it, always looking to do. So he will be that main link. And I think it's an area in the park that we perhaps really lacked. Cesc Fabregas, since he's left, that pass, whether it be over the top, whether it be in the feet, he has got a huge amount of armour to lean on. And of course, Mason's energy's in there as well. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I've spoken to a few people up there, even the BBC aren't quite sure what formation we're going to go, whether it's going to be a 2, whether it's going to be 2. It's definitely a 4-4-2. Yeah, I mean, Ben's adamant it's a 4-4-2, so we will see. So Zach should be a happy boy then.
If Ben's saying that's good enough for me, absolutely.
That's what he's saying.
Then I 100% trust him. That's the way we're going to go. Obviously, there's quite a chasm between the two teams today, Claire. In terms of we mentioned at the top of the show, but the last 2 decades, we've not played Chelsea, not played Luton since 1994. These two teams haven't come against each other. Then it's quite a few names that kind of flip between the two. Mick Harford's obviously part of the Luton coaching staff at the moment. Scored Chelsea's first ever Premier League goal. I know that he's been talking about that in the week. Kerry Dixon, of course, obviously played for both, a legend at Chelsea, and many more over the things. But it's a big game today, isn't it? Because Luton have got a good FA Cup pedigree. The last big FA Cup shock, I suppose, of a little while ago was when they beat Norwich City when they were in the conference, and Norwich were a Premier League team. So it's going to be a difficult game today, and especially because we don't quite know how we're going to set up or line up. It's going to be a tough one today, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's this cup, isn't it? The magic of the cup. You don't know what's going to happen. I think we obviously have the calibre of players. There's a lot of history between two clubs. As Jason's seen, we won't touch on his own goal that he scored and he's getting trolled online for. Look, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for both sides, isn't it? Hopefully the opportunity that Chelsea are the one that takes. It's a chance for us to gain confidence as well. But who knows what's going to happen. But as I said before, I've been positive, haven't I, with my predictions.
Absolutely, you've been very positive. Jay, I wasn't going to bring that up, mate. I was going to bring up the 3-3 draw you played in.
Outrageous.
I was going to bring up the 3-3 draw you played in 91 and completely ignore that one. But again, you've played against Luton again. These sort of in past games, they are a good side and they've got a good pedigree. They're a big team that are playing in sort of have found themselves in the lower leagues over the last couple of years. It means a lot to them today to be playing a big team like Chelsea, and they've had a difficult period this season, drawing Man United and Chelsea in both cup competitions, not being able to have fans there. But this is an opportunity for them to really show what they're about.
This is a football club, of course, that was really decimated by being relegated back into non-league football, and they've come a very, very long way since then. This is a great chance for them. No one expects them to win. No one's really giving them much of a chance, but you never know. We saw what happened yesterday with Cheltenham. They were just minutes away from one of the biggest shocks the cup we've seen. Not quite as big here today, but it's a big game for us. We cannot afford to lose this because of the run that we're on. We need a winner. We need to put this game to bed early. We need to be convincing. I want us to crack plenty of chances. I want to see plenty of goals. I've gone for a conservative 2, but if we get our act together, we could score 3 or 4 here easily. So That's what I want to see.
Suppose something that we've not really looked at as well, Zach, is the fact that you look at Reece James, Mason Mount have both played in the Championship, so they'll be well aware of Championship teams in terms of how they approach games or whatever. So although it's new territory for a lot of them, that the players that we're expecting a lot of today have got experience playing this level of football as well.
Yeah, 100%, and even all the players as well at the same level of facing Barnsley in the League Cup and Morecambe last week. They know that. I think at times they gave us a shot. Like we played against Morecambe a couple of weeks ago, and they had that shot that almost caught Kerr off the line. I think a few players maybe realised like, oh, this isn't as easy as we think it's going to be. You know, I think now more than ever at the times that the difference between, especially the Premier League and the Championship, isn't actually that much. We see teams like Leeds and the others coming up, Fulham and coming up and causing big issues to the Premier League sides, and having not really spent that much money to compete in the Premier League. So yeah, I think Frank Lampard as well will be drilling into them. Look, guys, this isn't just a kickabout. It's not just a fancy knockoff training session. This is important, and we have to win.
Completely agree, mate. Well, I'll tell you what, we did mention it a little bit earlier, but let's jump back to the FA Cup semi-final in 1994, a match that holds some very special memories, not just for Gavin Peacock and Blues fans, but also for another Chelsea legend who lined up against us.
That's forward by Harper. Dixon! Carring had to be quick. There were others for Chelsea not quite so alert there, and they should be. They know about Dixon. Cascarino. Oh, it comes for Peacock. Chelsea are in front. Their first real attack. A goal after 13 minutes.
Well, it is the first attack. The long free kick and the threat of Cascarino. He wins the header. There's a little touch on there, and who do you expect to be in there?
Flicked on by Cascarino. Peacock for Spencer. For Peacock. Is it two? Brilliantly taken. Gavin Peacock has done it again.
That's what we mean, Martin. Seconds after I mention the word bits, what does Gavin Peacock go and do? Cascarino flicks it on. This is what you have to battle for. This is the bits. That's what I'm talking about. It's Peacock that made it his.
I had 9 great years at Chelsea. The fans were always been brilliant to me, and it really was a wonderful reception, and it made it the most emotional football day of my life, and something I'll never forget. Chelsea fans made it an extra special day. The way they applauded me and the reception they gave me after the game was fantastic. The greatest day, most emotional day in terms of support and a show of appreciation from the Chelsea fans, and it will long live in the memory.
Chelsea legend, scored so many goals for Chelsea, Kerry Dixon. Obviously, very fondly thought of in Luton Town colours as well. Jay, I know you'll have known about Kerry, I suppose, fairly similar time when you were coming through to him being around the club. Again, he's a player that has, a huge amount of goals to his name at Chelsea, but also very fondly thought of at Luton. He's a hell of a player.
Yeah, when I first started in the youth team here at Chelsea, he was in the first team, and of course I went on to play with him. He's a good friend of mine. He's a brilliant lad, great company, and that's where he lives in and around Luton. So he still lives there. And of course, that day back in 1994, it would have been tough for him really to see, because he only left 2 years earlier. It would have been hard for him to have faced Chelsea, where he spent so many happy years here, scored an incredible amount of goals, and led the line, and he's one of the greatest goal scorers this club has ever had. And it would have been a tough day for him, but I suppose if there's one team he would have not wanted to lose to, I suppose the semis would have been Chelsea.
Absolutely right. And Claire, this is an opportunity to, again, we're not looking past Luton Town at all, because they're a tough opposition, but you've got Barnsley in the next round, a team we've already beaten this year, and then all of a sudden you're into the latter stage of the FA Cup. So today is very much about getting that result and getting through it at any costs. Yeah,
look, we've seen the holders knocked out already. I think FA Cup is as Zach was saying, is a magical game, magical competition, And I think, look, if we can go further into the competition, go on and win it, it's something to shout about, isn't it? I think there's a lot of pressure on at the moment. Winning this game, it will bring a bit of confidence. It will allow us to step on, hopefully, and look forward to the next game in this competition and next game in the league. I think it can only be a good thing for us, bounce back ability, right?
Completely right. And just a quick run through again of the Chelsea team for today. Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal, Reece James, Kurt Zouma, Andreas Christensen at Emerson, Billy Gilmore, Mason Mount captain in Chelsea today, Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner and Tammy Abraham. Zach, we've spoken about Mount, we've spoken about Gilmore, we've spoken about Abraham. I suppose the player we've not really touched on at the moment has been Christian Pulisic, who, you know, has found it difficult the last couple of weeks in terms of injury, but it's a big opportunity for him today. We know how good he can be, and without the snowy ground, he's a player that drifts through anyway. So I'm looking forward to a nice little pattern behind him as he's bobbing and weaving.
Yeah, even thing is with Christian, even when he's not having the best of games, not having the greatest of games, he's still making an impact. He's still making those direct runs, those dribbles through the team, creating chances. And I think he's a player that kind of plays with the team. When the team's got confidence, he'll have confidence. It's just about gaining that confidence, because we all know, we've already spoken about the level he can reach, the potential he has, and the potential he's already played. You know, after lockdown, he was maybe the best player on that team sheet, the guaranteed starting spot at that left wing position. And when he turns it on, he really is fantastic. And he's obviously one of Lampard's favourite guys. He's always in the squad. He's got the trust there, especially maybe at the start when he first joined in last summer. He wasn't starting all the time. So I think we've just got to keep persevering, and as we said, that bounce back ability, and he'll come good. He'll be brilliant.
An opportunity as well today, Claire, for Kurt Zouma. Obviously, Antonio Rudiger got the nod in the Morecambe game and has started every game since then. So I suppose that's the incentive for Kurt Zouma and Andreas Christensen today, that they know, if they perform well, keep a clean sheet and do all right, then they'll be in the frame for Wednesday evening.
Yeah, and you know what, I'm not a massive fan for rotation at the back all the time, but it is about opportunities. Yes, it's a cup. We've got obviously players who are slightly older in that back line, so the rotation is needed. I think Zouma, for me, I don't think he should have been dropped in the first place, or was he dropped? He was rotated. They don't like to use the word drop today, rotation now. But yeah, I think them two can create a partnership too. I think it's up for claims, isn't it? You know, we haven't really got that consistent performance, so I think any one space is up for option.
Jace, I would get one final mention from you, but I'm assuming you put your gloves back on. We've muted you, so I'm gonna allow that for a second, pal. All right, but if you, I didn't want to push you too much. Who you got first goal scorer then, mate, today? Who do you think is going to make the breakthrough?
God, I mean, I'd love any one of our front two. I'd love Tammy to get a goal. I'd love Timo to get a goal. I kind of need it. He's been desperately unlucky. Those marginal offsides, as we saw against Leicester as well, that consolation. It just feels as though we need it. So.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with him just purely because that's fingers crossed.
Good work, mate. Good work. Well, that is all from us for now. Obviously, a very snowy Stamford Bridge, the setting for a big FA Cup semi-final. Before a big FA Cup fourth round today, even before we join our commentary team, we caught up with Frank to get his thoughts ahead of today's game.
Obviously, difficult trip to Leicester midweek. What have the last few days been like for you and the group since that?
Well, the lads had a day off, and sometimes I think that's a good thing after a tough evening, because the lads want to win. They go there to play and get a result at Leicester. And then we've been working together over the last 2 days, training hard, being competitive, particularly today. We have to find confidence. We have to lift our game. We have to get the basics right that we were getting before this run of results. And that just comes here at Cobham, that comes on the training ground, it comes by being together and having a collective spirit. So it's something I'm pushing a lot, and we want to see that in the next few performances.
You mentioned the word confidence there. Does the fact that the next 3 games are at home help to build that and hopefully pick up a bit of momentum?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. It's important for us to, Stamford Bridge has generally been, in my time here, a very strong place for us, particularly from restart onwards. We've had a lot of good results, and in this important time to play at home feels good. We haven't got our fans, but we have got the familiarity of the bridge and what it means to us. So yeah, it's an important time for us. We all know that. There's no illusions here. And playing at home hopefully helps us, but we obviously have to put in those performances.
How good an opportunity is the FA Cup this year, do you think?
As good as ever. A competition that we've done well in modern era, and when I was playing, when I left, and last year we made the final and nearly did it again. So yeah, we can't underestimate, particularly a Luton team that are doing pretty well in the Championship. Be very competitive, very good manager who want to come and get a result. So it's important that we have a lot of focus for the game, because the FA Cup always is big for Chelsea.
I wanted to ask about Luton, because obviously, as you said, he's a good and up-and-coming manager. You've come up against him, haven't you, in the Championship before? They tend to play a high line, don't they, and play up from the back. Will that suit our game, do you think?
Well, we'll see, but they do play that way. They're an aggressive team off the ball. They try and play the right way and have a lot of rotation in their team. play with energy. So I'm well aware of their strengths. Got respect for Nathan as a manager, as you say. I went up against him in the Championship, and his job at Luton before Stoke and after Stoke I think has been really impressive. So I know that it's a tough game for us, and we'll just have to make sure we get our game right.
Focusing on your group of players, Frank, I know we've used the word sort of patience and time before, haven't we? And without drawing too many parallels, when you first came to the club, it was 2001, and then there was a 4-year wait, wasn't there, before the first trophy? So there was, I guess, evidence there of building and a project and a long-term plan.
Yeah, and there were not easy times in that, because I mentioned after I think Manchester City that projects and transitions mean pain at different times. And when I say pain, I mean difficult moments, whether it's squad building, waiting for improvements, fighting through tough moments, because football will give you those when you're in that sort of period, and coming through the other side. And I remember, I'm not going to reel them all off to you now, but countless stories or periods or times or things where things were not so good and we fought through, and it made us all stronger. Definitely the group of players that we were at the time, because we were all quite young, hungry players. And we were striving, but we were quite far away, and it took time. And with all the variables around that, Roman Abramovich coming to the club, all the things then that moved on, the squad becoming stronger, more experienced, we managed to get the right recipe. So we know we're not at that. We know at the moment we're in a position where we're not that result where we had 2005, 2006, 2007, and onwards. And when I left with Eden doing all these crazy stuff on the pitch, and Costa and Fabregas, etc. So we know that. We just have to work. We have to work, and everyone else can judge after that, and we can hopefully try and keep improving. We have exciting players. There's no doubt about that. At the minute, we're not performing as well as we can. When we do, you'll see the upturn very quickly.